Good day, everybody. Welcome to our English class. For today, we'll be discussing about the Module 6 of our first quarter entitled Phrases, Clauses, and Sentences. Before we proceed to our discussion, let us first identify the objectives of the lesson. You can say that you have understood the lesson in this module if you can already define sentences, phrases, and clauses, determine phrases, clauses, and sentences, identify the different types of phrases, differentiate independent clause from dependent clause. Okay, so let us just have first a review. This is just a review from your previous lesson during your elementary days. What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words that contain a subject and a predicate. 'Di ba? Para ma-consider natin ng na ang isang group of words ay isang sentence o may complete thought, dapat meron siyang subject and predicate. So, ano nga ba ulit yung subject and predicate from our previous lessons? 'Di ba yung subject, it refers to the person, place, things, or animals, or anything that is the topic or the yung pinag-uusapan natin dun sa buong sentence, 'di ba? Predicate naman, it tells us more about the subject. Siya yung nagsasabi or nagbibigay ng additional information about the subject. And also, yung predicate natin, it contains the action word or it contains the verb. 'Di ba? And a sentence makes a complete sense by itself and does not depend on another word or group word to do so. 'Di ba? Because sabi nga natin, sentence has a complete thought. So, hindi na siya nag-depend sa iba pang group of words para mas ma-explain or para mas maintindihan kung ano yung sinasabi or yung pinaka-pinupunto ng isang sentence. Okay? To be it consider as a sentence, dapat kompleto siya at naiintindihan siya because it has a complete thought and does not depend on other words, diba, to make it complete. Okay, let us have first examples, 'di ba? Meron tayong mga sentences dito. First is yung ito, Buryuk and I are best friends. So yung subject natin dito yung Buryuk and I. So predicate natin dito yung are best friends. 'Di ba? They complement each other and this has a complete thought. 'Di ba? So may complete thought siya. So maintindihan natin yung sinasabi niya sa isang sentence na si Buryuk and I are best friends. Okay, another example, Delia has a weak heart. So in subject, ang pinag-uusapan si Delia. And also, the sentence or group of words that contains the verb has a weak heart as the predicate. At pag pinagsama mo sila, and they has a complete thought, 'di ba? So, yan, it is considered a sentence. Another example, he is a good dog. So ang ating subject dito ay he. And then ang predicate natin, of course, containing the action word is a good dog. Predicate. Subject plus predicate, which has a complete thought, it is a sentence. Okay, in this case, sabi nga po dito, ay predicate may be made up only only the verb. So, pwede rin naman, gaya na sinasabi natin na yung predicate natin contains the verb, 'di ba? So there are some cases na verb lang talaga yung nakalagay or nilalagay sa sentence but still it has a complete thought. Kompleto pa rin siya, maintindihan pa rin siya, and then hindi pa rin niya kailangan mag-depend sa iba pang sentences na kasama niya para ma-consider natin siya na isang sentence or a complete thought. Gaya na sinasabi natin. For example, Eddie cried. 'Di ba? Eddie is the subject and then cried is the predicate. Kung mapapansin nyo, verb lang 'to, pero kapag sinabing Eddie cried, maiintindihan na agad natin anong ginawa ni Eddie. He cried. Sino yung umiyak? Who cried? Si Eddie. So, ibig sabihin, even though there is only a verb doon sa ating predicate, this sentence still has a complete thought. So, maiintindihan pa rin natin. Another example, Beryuk scampered. 'Di ba? So, predicate lang siyang nakalagay na isang verb, but still, this has a complete thought, and this is considered as a sentence. Okay, let's proceed. Now, let us define what is a phrase. Again, this is already tackled or discussed during your elementary days. So, ano nga ba yung phrase? 'Di ba? Phrase is a group of words that does not contain a subject and a predicate and does not make a complete sense by itself. It depends upon the other words to make sense. So, ito yung kaibahan naman natin sa sentence. Kasi yung phrase, kailangan niya pang magdepende sa iba pang mga group of words para mas maunawaan siya, para mas magets natin kung ano yung gusto niyang sabihin. So, sabi nga po also, it does not contain a subject and a predicate. Unlike sa sentence, meron siya. Okay? Sa phrase, wala. Let's have examples. Ayan. Delia has a weak heart. So, kung tatanggalin natin yung Delia, yung subject, ito lang, itong phrase lang na to, has a weak heart. 'Di ba? Phrase lang siya. Kailangan niya pang magdepende doon sa word na Delia para masabi nating ma-complete thought siya. Pero, gaya nga din sinabi natin, ang phrase dito has a weak heart. This is the phrase and then sentence. Pero pag binanggit natin has a weak heart, bitin, di ba? So, hindi natin alam kung ano ba talaga yung pinupunto niya or kung ano ba talaga yung makokompleto doon sa kaniyang sinasabi. Has a weak heart. Pag sinabi, o sino yung has a weak heart? Sinong meron? Anong meron? 'Di ba? Bitin siya. So this is considered as a phrase. Kasi kailangan niya pang dumepende sa iba pang group of words or words para mabuo siya. Okay? Example again, Beryuk scampered off the field. So this is an example of a sentence. But if we would eliminate the word Beryuk, yung ating subject, at ang ating underline dito ay scampered off the field, which is the phrase. Pag sinabi natin yan, diba, scampered off the field. So ano sinasabi? Anong meron? 'Di ba? Hindi natin mauunawaan kung ano ba talaga yung sinasabi ng group of words na yon. Unless, dadagdagan at didepende siya doon sa ating subject na Beryuk. Pag dinagdagan ng Beryuk, Beryuk scampered off the field. So in this case, dumepende na yung ating phrase doon sa subject, mas mauunawaan na natin kung ano yung pinag-uusapan. Beryuk scampered off the field. So this is a complete thought already. 'Di ba? Unlike pag tinanggal natin yung Beryuk and we will just use the phrase itself, scampered off the field. So yan, bitin, hindi natin alam, kulang. Okay? So that is a phrase. Dependent siya or dumedepende siya doon sa iba pang group of words para mas maunawaan mo yung meaning niya. Okay? Kung mapapansin ninyo, 'di ba, sa example natin kanina sa sentence, eto rin same example din kasi ito kanina. Yung predicate natin, 'di ba, meron siyang verb. So pag hiniwalay mo siya sa subject, so hindi na siya maunawaan. So ganun lang naman po yung example na ating phrase. Kaya para mag-consider siya ng complete thought, pagsasamahin yung subject and predicate, 'di ba? Or yung phrase para magkaroon siya ng complete thought. Okay, let's have again an example, 'di ba? So kung mapapansin ninyo sa ating example dito, meron tayong group of words or sentences na pinagsama-sama. Okay? Meron tayong example dito, Beryuk scampered off and my sister flung the stick at him. So kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayong dalawang subject, meron tayong dalawang predicate, but still they are in the same sentence. So ito naman po yung ating next na i-define. Ito yung clause. Okay? So, these two group of words, kung mapapansin nyo doon sa example natin na ipinakita, yung two group of words natin, meron siyang subject, dalawa, may predicate, dalawa. So, two group of words. And then, they are independent. Kapag independent sila, pwede mo silang paghiwalayin, but still they can have their own meaning, their own complete sense. 'Di ba? Pinagsasama lang sila to make a longer sentence or kailangan lang natin na magkaroon ng larger sentence, but still, yung clause natin is group of words na merong subject and predicate. Okay? Example nga natin dito, 'di ba? Beryuk scampered off. So kahit tanggalin mo yan at hindi mo yan ipagsama dito sa isang sentence natin na my sister flung the stick at him, Beryuk scampered off as a sentence can be understood as a sentence with a group of words with complete thought. Beryuk scampered off. So alam na natin, sino yung nag-scampered off? Si Beryuk. Anong ginawa ni Beryuk? Nag-scampered off. It can stand alone. Pero sinama lang siya dito sa another sentence to make the sentence longer. 'Di ba? And may conjunction, pero yung ating sentence, my sister flung the stick at him. So this is also an independent sentence kasi may subject and predicate at kahit tanggalin mo siya dyan sa longer sentence na yan at sabihin lang natin my sister flung the stick at him, 'di ba? Wala nang iba, it can still stand alone at mas maiintindihan pa rin natin because this has a complete thought. Mas maunawaan natin kasi sino ba yung nag-flung ng stick sa kanya? At him, my sister. Anong ginawa ng sister? Flung the stick at him. So this still has a complete thought. Kahit na alisin natin siya dyan sa longer sentence na yan. So yun po yung sinasabi natin or dinidefine natin as a clause. They can be formed together. They have also subject and predicate. And they are a part of a larger sentence, but they are independent with each other. Okay? Ang tawag natin dyan ay clause. Independent clause. Okay. Another example here. So meron tayo dito, my neighbor bought a new house before he went abroad. So dalawang sentence na naman natin yan kung ating hihimayin natin yung sentence natin. My neighbor bought a new house. So this is the main clause. Okay? But still, it has a subject and predicate. And masasabi natin na kahit hindi natin siya idugtong dun sa before he went abroad, my neighbor bought a new house as a sentence has a complete thought. Still has a complete thought kahit ihiwalay natin yan. Another is he went abroad. Maikli lang siya but this still has a complete thought. Sino yung pumunta sa abroad? He. Anong ginawa niya? Went abroad. 'Di ba? This can still stand alone kahit na maikli siya because it has a subject and a predicate and then kahit ihiwalay mo siya sa longer sentence, maiintindihan pa rin. So this is an example of an independent clause. Okay? Sabi nga po, yung main clause, yung mismong pinag-uusapan, yung mismong main sentence, 'di ba? Independent sentence, dinudugtungan lamang po 'yan ng mga conjunctions para or other phrases or other group of words, idudugtong sa another independent clause or yung ating subordinate clause or yung nagso-support doon sa main clause but still pareha silang mayroong sariling subject and predicate. At kahit paghiwalayin mo sila, they can still have the same meaning at pwede pa rin silang makonsider as sentence. Okay? So next, let's move on. Sabi nga po yung clauses, they can be independent, just like what we have said a while ago with our previous presentation. And this can also be dependent or yung kailangan niya magdepende sa ibang clause para makatayo siya, para mas maunawaan siya at magkaroon siya ng meaning. Okay? Or mas maintindihan siya ng reader. Okay? Sabi nga po, a dependent or subordinate clause also has a subject and predicate, but it cannot stand alone. Gaya na example natin dito sa baba kanina, di ba? He built high walls when he find out that the theft was rampant. So, ang main clause natin is he built high walls. 'Di ba? So, yung subordinate clause natin dito is when he found out. Okay? Pero kasi dito, meron pa tayong another independent clause, theft was rampant. Pero bigyan natin ng emphasis dito yung nasa gitna, yung subordinate clause na idinagdag doon sa ating dalawang independent clause when he found out. 'Di ba? Bitin, hindi mo alam kung ano ibig sabihin, hindi natin maunawaan pag yun lamang po yung binasa natin or ginamit natin. 'Di ba? So this means, ito yung tinutukoy natin na dependent clause kasi kailangan niya pang mag-depend doon sa other sentences, especially doon sa given natin na example, nag-depend lang siya din sa mga independent clauses natin na nakakatayo sa sarili nila, mas maiintindihan, 'di ba? Dumepende lang siya doon para mas maintindihan at mas magamit siya na may mas makabuluhan. Pero if we would take it out in those independent sentence, gagamitin lang natin yung mismong subordinate clause na yan, it is just a part of a sentence, di ba? Wala siyang meaning. 'Di ba? Hindi siya mabibigyan ng meaning kung hindi isasama sa ibang words or sa ibang clause. So, yun yung ating dependent or subordinate clause. Okay? And there are some different kinds or types of phrases. Okay, so napag-aralan na natin yung sentence, yung clause, yung phrase. Now, let's move on to the different kinds of phrase. Okay, first is a noun phrase. It is made up of a noun and all its modifiers. It can function in a sentence as a subject, object, or a complement. Example, new female teacher, long and winding road. So let's discuss more. Let's have this example. Delia has a weak heart. So this is our um, noun phrase. Bakit? Kasi ang ating phrase dito, Gaya ng example natin kanina, 'di ba ang subject natin ay Delia, ang predicate natin ay has a weak heart, and then itong ating phrase, gaya nga po ng sinasabi natin, weak heart. Ano ba yung weak heart? It is a noun, 'di ba? So dito sa ating types of phrases, kailangan familiar kayo sa meaning ng noun. Okay? Para maintindihan natin, mahanap agad natin kung anong klase or ma-identify agad natin kung anong klaseng phrase 'to. Kasi 'pag hindi natin alam ang ibig sabihin ng noun, eh, hindi natin mahanap. But in this case, alin ba, 'di ba? Alin ba ang phrase dito? Anong nagko-contain dun sa phrase, weak heart? Ano ba yung weak heart, 'di ba? Ano ba yung heart? It is a noun, 'di ba? Yun yung sinasabi natin, yung ating noun dito ay yung heart, modifier lang yung weak, pero ang main na ano natin dito is yung heart. That's why this is considered as a noun phrase. Okay? Kasi yung phrase niya, it contains noun. Okay? Na may modifiers. Yan. Another natin is a verb phrase. Okay? So, verb phrase naman tayo. So, made up of main verbs plus more helping verbs. Gaya ng to be, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, to have, has, had, to do, so, do, does, did, others, may, might, must, can, could, should, will, or should. So, example natin is, the shot did not scare. Okay? So in this case naman, so mapapansin natin, hanapin natin yung ating predicate. So ang predicate natin is did not scare. So ano bang nagko-contain dun sa ating phrase? Kanina noun, 'di ba? Obviously, we have noun kasi yung heart. Pero dito ano ba? Underline word is scare. So scare is a verb. It is an action word. Meron siya dito mga helping verbs na binigay. For example, dito, did not. 'Di ba? Did not scare Biryuk. Did not. So, ibig sabihin, ang ating phrase dito, it contains verb. That's why this is considered as a verb phrase. Okay? The phrase did not scare is a verb phrase kasi the phrase contains verb, yung scare. So dito kailangan ma-identify natin, alam natin kung paano i-identify ang verb. Okay? Para mas maintindihan natin if it is a noun verb, it is a verb phrase, noun phrase or rather a noun phrase or a verb phrase, kailangan alam natin at alam natin yung definition at saan ginagamit yung mga yan. Okay, let's have another one. Prepositional phrase. Ito. Kailangan, gaya ng sinabi natin, kung alam natin ang meaning ng noun, alam natin ang meaning ng verb, alam natin ang meaning ng preposition and its uses, ma-determine natin kung anong klase phrase ba yung nandito. For example, dito sabi, a prepositional phrase consists of a preposition, its object, noun or pronoun, or any words defining the object, examples, in the house, by the river, in an hour, under the sun, to the office. So dito gumamit tayo ng mga prepositions. Okay? Example natin, if you were given a sentence, just like here in our presentation, we go to the field to chase quails. So our phrase na in-underline dito ay to the field. Pag tinanong kayo, ano kayang klaseng verb, ano kayang klaseng phrase ito? Okay? Dahil may preposition siya na to the field, preposition yan, to the field, so maiintindihan agad natin na ito ay an example of a prepositional phrase. 'Di ba? Kasi hindi siya noun, hindi siya verb. Instead, the phrase uses preposition. 'Di ba? That's why it is automatically considered or identified as a prepositional phrase. Okay. Another. Adjective phrase. So ito na. Gaya nga ng sinasabi, you have to really know what is the meaning of noun, verb, preposition, adjective for you to be able to identify kung ano ba talaga yung types of phrase na tinutukoy dito. For example, in the underlined word in our example, Celestine takes care of her flower garden. Okay? So dito, may nakita tayo. There is a noun. Okay, automatically there is a noun, yung garden. Pero, di ba, meron siyang included before it na adjective. Okay, adjective to. Because this describes the garden. Sabi nga po, adjective phrase like adjective modifies noun. It answers the question, which or what kind. Okay, sabi nga po, what kind of garden? Flower. That's why this is considered as an adjective phrase. Let's say for example, kahit pagbaliktarin natin, Celestine takes care of her garden of flowers. So may noun siya. Pero ang tanong, tanungin niyo yung sarili niyo para hindi kayo maguluhan. Kasi kanina may noun phrase eh. Pero wala siyang it does not answer the questions which or what kind. But in this case, there is a noun, but there are also words included na sumasagot sa tanong na which or what kind. For example, what kind of garden? Which garden? 'Di ba? Sabi, garden flowers of flowers. So this is the adjective because this describes the noun garden. Okay? So pag may adjective na dyan at may dinedescribe na dyan na noun, so ibig sabihin, this is automatically considered as an adjective phrase. So dito you have to be careful with identifying doon sa sentence kung ano yung noun, ano yung adjective, kung ano yung um, preposition, 'di ba? Kung ano yung verb for you to be able to know or get the correct type of phrase na hinihingi or inaasa inyo to identify. Okay? So, yun lang naman po. So, let's have another example. Celestine takes care of her garden, which is full of flower. Okay? Kung mapapansin ninyo, this is the phrase which is full of flowers, 'di ba? Phrase siya kasi hindi siya complete thought. Umaasa pa siya doon sa Celestine takes care of her garden. But sabi nga po, this is considered as an adjective phrase because this answers the question which or what kind. For example, sabi nga po, Celestine takes care of her garden. Ang tanong, what kind? Which, 'di ba? Ano, what kind or which? Which garden? Sabi, which garden? Which is full of flowers. So yung underline dito, mako-consider natin as an adjective clause. Another example, meron tayong clause 1 and clause 2, parehas independent clause. Nakakatayo pareho. Celestine has a beautiful garden where she grows beautiful. Okay, kung mapapansin nyo, there are clause 1 and clause 2, both independent, pwedeng tanggalin, pwedeng paghiwalayin, but still they have a complete thought. But meron tayong in-underline nandito na phrase, di ba, or predicate, has a beautiful garden, grows beautifully. So sa clause 2, di ba, tells more about the verb has. Pero pagdating dito ah, sa ating sa ating unang sentence, 'di ba? Celestina has a beautiful garden where she grows beautiful, 'di ba? So meron tayo dito, ito ay automatically this is an um clause, adjective phrase kasi sabi nga has beautiful garden. So this describes kung ano yung meron si Celestine and also ano ba yung nag-grow beautifully. Saan siya nag-grow beautifully, 'di ba? Doon sa kanyang beautiful garden. Okay, so nagde-describe siya doon sa ating noun doon sa sentence. That's why this is an adjective uh, clause. Okay? Kasi clause dito, kasi nga po they are both independent, but still, 'di ba, this describes the noun in each sentences. Sabi nga po, this is an adjective clause, yung ating example kanina. Because when writing, remember that a sentence has a predicate and a subject and a predicate. Sa mapapansin natin dito, kahit paghiwalayin sila, they can still function and they can still have complete thought. Okay? Sabi nga po, it starts with a capital letter and ends with period exclamation point. So phrases add details, descriptions, and colors to the nouns and verbs, and clauses add further details. That's why sa example natin kanina, that's an example of a adjective clause instead of an adjective phrase kasi it can stand alone. Okay po. And that's it for our lesson for today. I just hope that you have remembered your lesson about clauses, about sentences, about phrases. And just for today, we have identified the different types of phrases, namely noun phrase, a verb phrase, prepositional phrase, adjective phrase, and also it can also be clause. Yung dinascuss natin kanina, if they can stand alone, that is considered as a clause. Okay, if you have no further questions, you just have to do the exercises on your module indicated in your printed modules, also using our reference na binamigay sa inyo. Okay po, the content of this lesson is not mine. This is just purely for discussion and lecture purposes for the modular classes. Okay, but still, ito yung mga sumulat, ito yung mga writers. Thank you very much for them. Once again, thank you very much for listening. I just hope that you have learned something today. Okay, so I guess we have to see each other for our next lesson next week. That's it for today. Thank you and God bless everybody. Ingat.